Trust me, I do know. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj show. I'm here. It is the what is it? The afternoon edition, baby. How y'all is? Come on in. The water is fine. A little hoarse. Hey, I want to talk about this breaking story today. The great Kobe Bryant. Good to see you, Barbara, Tukina, and the rest of you. This is shocking news that's going across the city, the country, around the world because of such a great man that he was. It is good that someone like that, who is an African American, who unfortunately life was cut short, where we all could gather around and celebrate the life of such a great man. And it is each day, each moment, that is, each moment more news is coming about who was on the particular helicopter. Unfortunately, his daughter was on there as well. I just found out a few minutes ago, and it's even more heartbreaking to die with your father. So the many of our lives are touching, and I'll tell you why our lives are touched the way it is today. Stephanie Harper said, "Let the story develop." The man is dead. All right, so it's dead and it's affecting everybody. So let me do this show. Kobe, born August 23, 1978, he was a young man, and we all know him as a very professional basketball player, but he was also a very philanthropic man. He had two numbers, 24, and I think the other number was 8, I believe. Young man out of Philadelphia, and he went right out of high school right into the NFL. The LA Lakers took a chance on him, and Regina, they're developing slowly, but I just want to talk about the effects of his death. Others things will pop up as we go along, but I want to talk about the effects of his death. And his record. Look at his record, okay? From the time he left high school, already is very popular there, to the time that he did 20 years with the Lakers. But if a lot of people don't understand his body of work as it pertains to young people. A lot of people don't know that Kobe actually is an Academy Award winner. He won an Oscar for, was it an animated movie? Was it a short? It was a cartoon called Dear Basketball or something. I was watching the Academy Award last year. But his philanthropic work, he was ambassador for the After School All-Star, the ASAS, and a non-profit organization that provides comprehensive after-school programs to children in 13 United States cities. All right. Also, Kobe Incorporated. He established Kobe Incorporated to own and grow brands in the sports industry. The initial investment was 10% stake in the Body Armor Super Drink Company for $8 million. This was in 2014. He also established a Bryant Stibble in 2016. His business partner, Jeff Stibble, launched Bryant Stibble, a venture capital film. It's a film focused on different businesses, including media, data, gaming, technology, with $100 million in funding. Also, the book in 2018, The Mamba Mentality: How I Play is the name of the book, with photographs and afterword by Andrew Bernstein, and it was introduced by Phil Jackson. I mean, it's amazing. The effects are devastating, and some of us are struggling with emotional. Yes, right, Harris. I just found out, Mama Harris. Okay, and then of course, his death today. It is devastating because 2020 came in with the death of the former NBA commissioner David. What was his name? David Stern, or I think that's his name. He died in January the 1st. I think he was 77 years old, and all of the players from past to present were there to honor the man. And now, thank you, Stern. And now we lose Kobe. And again, the story is developing on, and we'll find out who the other 4 or 3. We know that it was him and his daughter, and we'll find out the other 3. I think it was 5 in the helicopter. All right, and it's still smoke. You can still see the smoke. L.A. and Philadelphia has taken a big hit. Has taken a really large hit. And Tony, yes, we all are numb. Joy, good to see you. Now, the death of Kobe Bryant, I'm not going to be long at all, so the 60 of you who are here, don't worry, this ain't going to be long, because he's lived his life already. You go to Wikipedia and you see his life. Many of you come up enjoying the NBA games for the past 20 years. If you live in major cities especially, I live here in Chicago, and we were blessed with the likes, of course, Michael Jordan, and many of those who took the Chicago Bulls to a place of respect. They're not doing great now, but there was a legacy in the annal halls of the NBA because of the great men that played on the team here in Chicago, and many thought that was it. We will not have any more after Jordan, and then Kobe came on the scene, of course, and then and he just gave a tweet last night as he was lifting up what's his name? He tweeted last night, and this is the integrity of Kobe Bryant. And some will look at African American, not just artists, but entertainers who think that they are uneducated. Many of them are uneducated. And you would focus on those who might be caught in, thank you, Mildred, LeBron James. You know, he just tweeted last night on the accomplishment of LeBron. And you look at these young men who decided to take their money and their prestige and their power and their persuasiveness and do a great work for the young people who honor them and admire them and look to them as role models. Kobe wasn't just famous industrially, he was world renowned. Yes, absolutely, Tanil. That's exactly it. I was in shock. Yeah, I know. We all are. Okay, so his effect, the effect, the same effect that you and I had on Martin Luther King, the same effect that your parents had with JFK when he was shot down, the same effect that you all had, your parents and your grandparents had when Malcolm X was shot down. Yes, Barbara, Kobe, LeBron, thank you, Wade, okay? The same effect that we had on those men of the 1960s and some in the 70s, maybe, and Elvis Presley died, you know, and so your parents, you know, had an effect. My mom, I remember seeing her literally cry because here in Chicago, Joel Daly, ABC News, I'll never forget that moment, said that Elvis Presley had just died, you know, from, what was it, overdose or something, okay? And my mama was sitting there, and I'm a little boy. This was, when did he die? 77, I don't know. And she just started to weep. Why? Because Elvis Presley that was during her time, the 1950s and 60s, you know, that was her life. And so the death of Kobe Bryant is having the effect on our children the way Martin Luther King's death had. If depending on how old you are, if you can think of maybe someone like Michael Jackson or Prince or gosh, you know, anybody who you could think of who died when you were younger, this is the same effect. This helicopter was his. And Kobe owned the helicopter, and he would fly around because he felt that it was easier on his body when he would go from game to game, that it was easier instead of driving or being on that bus for 2, 3, 4 hours. He purchased a helicopter so that he can get from game to game, so that his body can continue in its momentum. This is why he had the helicopter. And so when you look at his life and the impact that it have on the young people, we need to take notice of it. I'm sorry, the phone rang. I meant to turn this thing on mute. When the way the children are affected today, pay close attention to them. I just did a show a couple of days ago on mental illness, all right, and dysfunctions. And sometimes what we do is we put a lot of stock into entertainers, actors, the preacher. We put a lot of stock in individuals, and we put more stock in them than we do the things that we should be putting stock in, and it affects us mentally. It affects us mentally, and there are people who will slip into depression. There are some people who will be suicidal. There are those who be walking around, you don't know what's going on with them. They'll be moping around. Their countenance will change and things like that when you hear when news like this break. And it makes you wonder, how can someone like this man, who some of you, most of you probably, will never ever meet, if he was still alive today and lived to be 80, 90 years old, some of you, or most of you again, may never ever be in the same room as Kobe Bryant, but yet it is affecting us the way that it's affecting us. It says a couple things. Number one, television or media has brought us together as a family. Many of the TV shows that we watch, when we see the children playing in these shows, and depending on how long the series go, these children begin to grow over time. The Partridge Family children begin to grow on us. The Brady Bunch children began to grow on us. Leave It to Beaver and his brother and Rascal, whatever he was, who was always the bully, they were children, but they began to grow on us. You understand? And as they grew on us, they became a part of us. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he was a part of us. He was our uncle. He was our father. All right, he was our grandfather, depending on who you were. Family Matters is one example, exactly. And so when he passed, it had a hard, lasting effect on many of us, because we were introduced to him as children in the 1970s, and he babysitted us at home when our parents wanted to do something else with their lives. Mr. Rogers babysitted us. When O'Connor died, Archie Bunker, when he died. Thank you, Eddie Haskell, Abronia, you nerd. When Archie Bunker died, Carol O'Connor, is that his name? I cried. Why? Because I was raised. That was Uncle Charlie, Archie. That was Uncle Archie. Even though he was a bigot and racist, at least the character that he played, he was Uncle, and I cried because Uncle died. You understand? Media brings the world together, and we become one family. And I can't turn to channel 7. I'm on live, Brony. You tell me turn. You should be turning to me now. All right, and so the news will be breaking as I'm on here, and those of you who will watch it tomorrow and the next day, you would have all of the news. You will know everything after what I said, the ignorance that I'm giving right now. You will know what happened, why it happened, what have you. Okay, but right now, this is live right now for those of you who are on YouTube, and you probably know by the time I upload this, you'll know more than what I know today. Fresh Prince, Uncle Phil, yes, was sad. Yeah, you were sad because of Uncle Phil, all right? So we all have attached ourselves to these men and women who we grew up with, and they're gone. Kobe's got that effect on your children, all right? And so look after them. tend to them, pray for them, have a conversation with your children, wherever you are right now, today. Have a conversation with them and try to find out what do they know. What do they know about their spiritual life? Okay, those of you who are Christians who are raising these children, and you never talk about God, you never talk about the Bible, you never talk about spirituality, you never talk about religion, you never talk about the grace of God and holiness, and you never talk about any of that. Here's your opportunity to bring that up. All right, bring it up right now so that they can understand what death is all about. And what happens after death. Is there an afterlife? You need to talk about this. Here's your opportunity. This is an open door opportunity. Kobe Bryant, unfortunately this happened, but Kobe Bryant now has allowed the doors of conversation to be open to your children and talk about salvation. I don't know what the life of Kobe, his spiritual life. I don't know if he knew God or not. I have no idea. I ain't gonna send him to hell, nor will I send him to heaven. But I will say, okay, we know about the daughter, but she says they were trapped into a basketball game. Yeah. So here's the door. It's open. Talk to your children about this so that they can understand that one day their lives will end. However God decides to allow it to end, their lives will end, and the Bible says it is appointed once that a man should die, and then judgment happens. Kobe right now is in judgment. As soon as his eyes closed, as soon as his daughter's eyes closed and the last breath was taken, they now judgment. God judged them immediately. And wherever that is, I don't know. I can't even pray for them because it's too late. But we can pray for our children, those who are alive today. I can relate to what you're saying. As I thought about Kobe's career, I can literally see my youth. I literally had flashbacks. His career or existence is associated with my grown indirectly. Yes, growth. Thank you, E.C. Smith. That's exactly it. Yes, that's exactly it. All right. So I'm a little older right now, and his death don't have the same effect on me as these others that I mentioned earlier. All right, because I'm not into sports like Bronia is. Okay, so but his death, it has an huge impact on my children and some of you. Now his philanthropic work has a greater impact on me than his playing, but his playing opened the door for him to be philanthropic. Thank God for those 20 years that he gave to the NBA. His 13-year-old daughter, yes, Natasha, that's what we're hearing. So we must also pray for those who remain, those lives of the other families, the families of the others who were on the helicopter. Again, some of you probably know who they are by now. All right. So that's really what I wanted to say here. I didn't want to go long. I just wanted you to focus on when someone like that dies, pay attention to those lives who he affected. Look at the other rapper who died last year. What is his name? He was a famous rapper, and he was philanthropic just like Kobe. He was giving back to the community who raised him. All right, he had his store, and he was shot out in front of his, it was at a barbershop or whatever it was. Okay, look at the impact that young man had on your children. All right, what's his name? Nipsey Hussle. Look at the impact that he had on your children, and many adults who were still into hip hop, who still into rap. Some of y'all are just too old for some of that gangster rap. Some of y'all are just too old for that. But the impact he had on that generation. All right. I mean, they were moping around. Some of the children that I worship with and fellowship with. Okay, they were just moping around. That's all they talked about. They was posting on Facebook every single day for days and days and days about the life of Nipsey and how it affected them. They couldn't eat, they couldn't sleep, they didn't know what to do, they couldn't go to school without moping and all kind of things because of Nipsey, someone they never met before. But his life had an impact on their lives. All right, so we cannot ignore these things. This is not a small thing. When someone dies and then we go on by our business, it has an everlasting, that is, effect on many people who these men and women touched. And we have to look after these young people. Yes, he was changing the community for the better. Gang members were changing their lives. Latoya, that's what I was hearing, for the better. Gang members were changing their lives, and this is why he had his impact went broader than just the hip hop community. It went broader because of the lives he was changing. I'm older as well, but I love basketball. Beatrice is saying, and I weep for the children left behind. That is yes, Beatrice. That's exactly it. Telling blessings to you, E.C. Smith. You're welcome. NBA has canceled all games for now because of what happened. Wow, William Morris. See, that's something, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. He had the NBA family is a very small family. You need to know that. The church should have that type of impact. That's true. The NBA family is a very small. Remember, I told you about the former commissioner who died in January, and everybody was there. Why? Because the NBA family is a very small family, and it's probably small. Not probably. I believe that the NBA family is smaller than the NFL family, and all of the national leagues or different types of genres and what have you in sports. And in music, I believe that the NBA is the smallest family. Their world is very small, meaning everybody can relate to these basketball stars. Many of the NFL stars and people, you're like, yeah, that's cool, but something about basketball that brought the world together. And that's one reason why this had such an impact. And again, it doesn't take away from the greatness of Kobe Bryant. He indeed was one of the greatest all-time greats of American history, if not the world. I don't know what they're doing over there in other places around the country, but Kobe was one of the greatest that we could say here in America. So here it is. So make sure you focus on the goodness of the man's life and his philanthropic ways. If there's anything that you can do to support I don't know what's going to happen to his businesses and what have you, but these are good times to study, to see what work he did, so that some of you could cater after his life of taking the money that you have and doing good. You don't have to be wealthy to be philanthropic. Reports are now confirmed. Yes, absolutely. That's what we've been hearing. All right, they reported that since I've been on here. Okay, focus on the good. Whatsoever things that are just, whatsoever things that are good reports. Okay, whatsoever things that are kind and good-hearted. All right, the Bible instructs you to think on these things. Okay, think on all of the good things in life. When you do that, then it can help you, teach your children how also to cater after the life of Kobe, because it's disheartening and it's disturbing that some of them want to be looked up to some role models who we care not. We don't want them to be after some of these men and women who live raggedy lives. Even today, we'll see some of these people in entertainment. You really don't want that to be your role model. But Kobe, yes, doesn't matter what happened to him in the past with that other stuff. None of that matters whatsoever. That's behind him. And what I sometimes see when people like this die is that the news bring up past sins of a man or a woman after they die. Watch what the news do. All right, watch what they do. They're gonna start bringing up some of the things that happened to him, scandals or what have you. They do that all the time. I remember when Eddie Long died, and as soon as he died, he had taken his breath only 5 minutes, and the people on here was just going off about, see, that's what happened. The AIDS and killed him, and he messed with those boys, and God got his revenge, and all this stuff. And I said, oh my God, you people make me sick. You make me puke. Just confirmed. Yes, Jackie, we heard about that. I'm down today. Gonna have to have a Brentic. I hear you, man. I hear you. Yes. So hit the share button and let everybody know that there's many people going to talk about this. YouTube is going to be filled with the news of Kobe Bryant dying, and they're going to talk on the different aspects of his life. But let's bring up the spirituality of man, those of you who are alive today. He lived his life. He lived his legacy, his funeral, what have you. I'm sure they'll have a funeral for him next week, and I'm sure they'll be streaming it on one of the news stations. CNN is usually good at streaming something like that, and then MSNBC might do it after that. But you know, it's going to be a sad day. It's a sad day now, and it's going to be another sad day for the family when they decide to have a funeral. But nevertheless, those of you who are still a part of the land of the living, go find your children and have a talk with them, and make this an opportunity to teach and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to them. Today is a great opportunity to do this. Kobe, he lived a life that helped thousands of people, and I'm sure that God is going to judge him properly, because again, I don't know his spiritual life, but we celebrate his life because of the impact. He was not selfish, and the impact that he had on so many lives. I want to thank his wife for lending him out to America the way she allowed him to operate and move. She could have just said, all right, it's time for you to retire, quit, stop doing this, stop doing that. It's all about the girls and us, but she allowed him to continue to be philanthropic. So we want to thank her and pray for her, because I don't know what it feels to lose someone like that, you know, to be married and to lose your spouse. Don't know how that feels. My daughter is upstairs right now. I just got in from church, and I just thought about my daughter. So when this is over, I'm gonna go upstairs. I think she's in her bedroom. I'm gonna knock down the door and go in there and give her a nice juicy hug and let her know how much I appreciate and love her. And I want to find out from her as well, how is this affecting you, the death of Kobe? You know, my daughter's still in her 20s. You know, don't know, but I'm bold enough to ask her. And my son as well. My son was his high school's most valuable player a few times in his high school career, and I know this is affecting him some kind of way. And so I will definitely, when I shut this down, I'm calling my son and finding out what's going on. How is this impacting my son Walter? If we never thought about going outside the four walls, now is the time to consider it. Evangelize and educate. Jackie Hines, that's it right there. Here's our opportunity. You pull off your holy, your church clothes and all that stuff, okay? And this is a great time now to go out there into the highways and byways and compel them. And you don't really have to leave the house to do that, because I'm doing it right here on social media. You know, let those who are your friends know. Here's your opportunity to preach the gospel to them. God, we thank you for your presence and your blessing. We thank you for those who are watching, those who will watch later on. God, we thank you for the life of Kobe Bryant. I don't know the relationship or the communion that you and him had. I don't know, was there any covenant laid out there between the two of you? But nevertheless, God, I thank you for allowing him to live long enough to bless and have an impact on so many lives. So many lives have been changed by this vessel that you allowed to use. Thank you for him, and thank you for his family. God, I pray that you speak and be with his children and his wife and everyone a part of the Bryant family. Be with them, God. Be with them tonight. They need you now more than they ever have before. And those of us who might have been affected by this man's death, be with us as well. He was like family to many of us. He was like a nephew to some and a son to others. All right, but God, he still had an impact in our lives. So God, be with those homes in America and abroad whose lives are being affected, and somehow, some way, lead them to you. It is you, God, who chase after mankind. You say in the scriptures is that you are the ones pulling them. And you're pulling them towards you through your Son, Jesus Christ. And so, God, I thank you for the pulling that you have on their lives. And then you have set evangelists and teachers and preachers out here, these missionaries here who are watching. You set us out there so that we can go out there and win them. You call them, and we win them. One man plant, another man waters, but God is you who make the increase. And you do that in your Son, Jesus' name. God, I thank you, and will forever give your name the praise. In Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all. Thank you. Didn't want to go long, y'all. I bless you. I bless all of you who are here. Can't call all your names out, but I bless you. I bless you. I bless you. Your life is but a vapor. Your life, like that. Every time I do this, somebody has died. Someone has died. Someone has died. That's how quick your life is. It is but a smoke, a vapor, or a mist. That's it. All right? And it's over. What have you done? What legacy have you left? Whose life have you impacted? All right? So let this man's death be life for you. Wake up. It's time for you to impact somebody's life. Talk to them about Jesus Christ. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid or ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is life. It is power. All right? To all of you, to everyone who believe it, and to everyone who receive it, it is life. And when you close your eyes for the last moment, that moment you will be judged by what you did here on the earth. I pray that you see him in peace. And when he sees you, or you see him, his words are, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." I love y'all. And pray for me.